white coupler. The reason being is the black coupler is used if you're going to have it as a fail closed valve. The white coupler would be used to have the valve fail open. So that's the WLF linkage kit. Does not include the actuator. That would have to be ordered separately. But maybe the actuator is working fine, it's just the fail position. So if you order this kit, like it says, then you get both couplers and you can have it fail the proper way.
Is that cost effective? On some of these or most of them, or
If
you don't consider some of them a throwaway, just buy a new one, or?
you could, but with these, if it's just a matter of the motor, probably just buy the motor, because the valve is still working fine. You're not having any problems. Yeah, it's just the actuator. Now, I will say on if you're talking about like a 1/2-inch globe valve, and you're going to try and retrofit it with that, especially if it's a two-way, you're better off just changing out the valve, because the retrofit kit, especially if you can go to a CCV, characterized ball valve, rather than another globe, that characterized ball valve is going to be less expensive than the retrofit kit to put a new actuator on a globe valve. Now, sometimes you're going to run into even the small globe valves where it's going to be a pain in the butt to try and get the valve out, but you have access to the actuator. Then it becomes an idea of, well, how much is the labor going to cost just to take the valve out. So, first thing to do, remove the actuator stop, remove the clip, damper shaft clamp. So you've got your components removed. Okay, so this is an incorrect installation of the coupler. Got the angle of the coupler set here, clockwise, fail-safe mode. What we're looking at right now, that's not what we're setting up. So look at the right way. So it's difficult to see there the angle of the coupler. But here, what I really wanted to point out here is that we want the counterclockwise set up, because that's the way we want this to fail. Counterclockwise means we're going to be failing closed. So then we've got your valve mounting plate. That's the WLF bracket. And your hex bolts, we'll go through the holes there to secure the actuator to the valve body. I should say not the valve body, but the WLF. You've got your indicators on the top of the stem, like we talked about earlier. Indicators are open, A to AB. We want to change that if we want this to be fail closed, like we were talking about. So we just take the 10mm wrench, like we handed out, and you can rotate that counterclockwise 90 degrees. Now the indicators are in the closed position from A to AB. Take the actuator with that CCW or CW indicator facing up. The CCW is the side where you're mounting the bracket onto. Install the position indicator. Insert the mounting screw. That's going to go right into the valve stem. And then you have your completed assembly. Biggest thing to remember, though, is that you've got two different couplers, that black coupler and a white coupler, depending on if you want to fail close or fail open. That's really that, and whether CW or CCW is supposed to be facing up. And then if you give it a 6-volt signal, it should open 50%. And Jackson is more than happy to sell some of these PS100s to you. So this is showing, I don't know how well you can see it, but you may be able to see that the ball is about 50% open. You can see the opening in the characterizing disc there. If you have any problems in the field, you can feel free to call our tech support people. I left a card for everybody. On the back of my card is the 800 number to get a hold of tech support. You can call here to Jackson. Steve Sagers is great. He knows this stuff inside and out. More than happy to help you. But either way works for us. I know some manufacturers, they don't want you to call direct unless you're a direct purchaser of their stuff. At Belimo, if you're using our stuff, whether you bought it from us directly, bought it from Jackson, wherever you got it, we're more than happy to help you try and get our stuff working properly. The Belimo energy valve. It's a very cool product. I'm not going too detailed into the product, just get on the highlights of what it is. So this is the evolution of control valves within Belimo. I think I mentioned earlier, we started in '99 with the CCV. In 2003, came out with the PICCV. I only remember the year because they released it the year I started with the company. So, and I've been here 10 years. So I know it came out in 2003. EPIV, that came out a couple years ago. And the energy valve was just released last year. So some of the features, pressure independent valve, nice at controlling flow. Yes, sorry.
From an energy saving standpoint, are you in a position to calculate the savings and show some payback?
We are. Since you asked that, I will show you one.
We are on the pressure independent portion.
Right.
On the energy valve, the delta T portion we cannot, because that's purely based on the conditions of the particular coil that you have installed it on.
Right.
So if it's really dirty, then you're going to get really good performance out of it. If it's relatively new, you're going to get minimal extra performance out of it.
But we do have this energy modeling software where you can enter all the information you have about your building to try and determine what your payback would be. You know, if it's a new building type construction, it's certainly going to be, you know, worth your while to go through the exercise to try and say, okay, well, is it worth our while to go pressure independent? How long is the payback going to be? That type of thing. Yeah. And this energy modeling.
It'll actually tell you what your ROI is if you enter the data that it's looking for.
Right. That's part of that Select Pro tool.